some people buy cars and maintain the car just to keep an image. For what? When the car gives you a problem and the bills rack up, you will feel like it's so annoying. But if you love your car,
Alright everyone, welcome back to another episode of Mr. Money TV, and today we're going to explore a very important topic for most of us, especially those of us in Malaysia, because buying a car is almost a necessity here, right? It's not like we are in certain other countries where public transport is so well thought of that you don't really need your own vehicle. But in Malaysia, it's a necessity. So the question is, what car should you buy? Should you buy a new or used? And if buy used, what are some of the things that you need to take note of? So today we have in our studio Thomas, who's a very famous car enthusiast. Many of you will probably know him through his podcast, Keep It 100, and also as his work together with Horizon, right? So Thomas, welcome to the studio.
thanks for having me, man. Let's have some fun.
Thomas, firstly, you yourself, how many cars do you have?
5 cars. 5.
At
Okay.
this point, you
Not
have
as
5
bad as
cars.
I thought it was. 5 cars. All right. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, and how many of it is new? How many is used?
Good question. All of them I bought are used.
All of them are used.
Yeah. Well, except there's one more. It's new. It's not. It's my mom's car because I bought it for her. So
Right.
that one I bought for her is a new one.
What are all these 5 cars that you have?
Okay. I call it. I name her my wife. It's Porsche Boxster Spider.
Okay.
This one is man, I talk about it. I'm really like melting. It's my favorite car. I never thought I would love a car that much. So that's the one that I factor in. You know.
Yep.
Then the second one I have is the Alpine A110. It's a French car, French sports car. There's no official dealer in Malaysia, but I love the car so much. I love the philosophy of what they're doing. It's all lightweight. You know, the car is all about being light and minimalist, but still looking nice and beautiful.
Right.
I got one of that. And then the third one I have is a Countryman. So I share that with my fiance. Has to be a JCW because I need 300 horsepower for a daily. Right? I'm just kidding, right?
Wow.
Why not, right? You get greedy, you know. You want more horsepower, you know. So that's our daily car. We do everything in it: shopping, lug things around, lug people around. And I have a Fiat 500. It's a really cute Italian car. I always nickname the Italian Axia because in Italy, Fiat 500 is what people used to drive
That's
around town, anyways, right?
That's right.
And it's just came in this cute color, and I cannot resist it. No, and
It's the baby blue one, right?
pistachio green. Yeah,
Pistachio
It's a
green.
blue
Okay,
greenish kind of thing. Yeah, it's the cutest thing. You sit in the car and you don't want to drive fast. You just want to chill. And the last one I have is a classic car. It's a mini classic. So it's those small little Mini Coopers. It's a 1.3. I restored that car. Because I just fell in love with a mini classic. No car in the world drives like a mini. I better stop before I keep going on and on about cars, right? So my cars, right? So as you can probably tell by my face, I'm a car freak.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. So Thomas and his gang is known as the car lovers, right?
Yeah.
The other day I went to an auto detailer as well. I spoke to Darren.
Oh,
and
nice.
Wow, like really, you guys are really, really car lovers, right? We have heard definitely many times people say maybe you should consider getting a used car, right? Some people say if you get a Continental car, get a used one. If you get a Japanese car, get a new one, right? Because the value doesn't drop that much and stuff like that. So these are those folklores around cars that we hear, right? So let's move on to the first one first.
Yep.
If you buy your first car, should it be a new or used car?
Okay, there's 2 ways to look at it. If you don't want to have any headache at all, you want the whole car to be taken care of by a dealer and everything, okay? So I won't say buy or use. Buy a car that comes with warranty and service package, right?
Okay.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be new, right? Of course, buying new has other benefits like lower interest rates, etc., etc. Okay, there are 3 ways to look at cars. Some people use car as an appliance. Some people use car as a way to enjoy, as a hobby, and some people are reached to a stage they're in an acquisition stage. For them, it's just collecting cars, like collecting stamps, right?
Yes.
So let's be honest, most people start working, they're in the first category. Car is an appliance. It needs to fit the categories of being an appliance, right? So if it's an appliance, I want to have the least amount of financial impact on my life. I think as a graduate and then you're starting off working, you want to preserve your capital as much as you can. You don't want to get yourself in a position where you lose capital, right? You don't want to buy things that depreciate. What I would recommend, this is for me, I can't speak for everybody. Okay? General wisdom is cool because no headache in service, everything. But I would go for something that does not depreciate. Right?
Okay.
I will buy something that I know that in the next 3 years to come, my value is still preserved. Right? So Would it entail some problems? Yes. Sometimes older cars have wear and tear, right? But everything has wear and tear, right? Your aircon has wear and tear, everything, But for the amount of money I would save from maintenance, I would lose more in if I buy new and depreciate.
Right.
But there are certain cars that have very strong second-hand value, like my V's,
Yeah.
So those are the cars that generally are safer, but you're still going to lose 20 grand. You're still going to lose 25 grand. The depreciation is still there.
Yep.
It's not even a speculation. It is proven over time that cars depreciate of this category. So you got to ask yourself the question, are you okay with the 25,000 ringgit depreciation? Or you want to have the 25,000 to do something that can grow your money? So I would pick something maybe like a Swift Sport, a Swift that's 14,000 ringgit, like you can get 15,000 ringgit cars, Kia Picantos, and, I would go for those second cars which I know that they can't depreciate any much further.
Right. So you mean by like the first car that you can consider is actually a car that generally maybe say like after they hit the road, straight away their depreciation value is quite high, right? And then it just doesn't go down that much.
Yeah, the moment you buy over the car, it's really depreciated.
Yeah, I recall like last time I bought a Peugeot 408, right? And pretty much after 1 year, the depreciation kicked in like crazy. Then the price just remained the same amount for the next 2-3 years.
Yeah. and the 408 also has over time it still depreciates.
Yeah, it still depreciates, yeah. So
but
I get what you mean, right?
Yeah, depreciation always depends on the market demand. Right? How much is people willing to pay for this car, right?
That's right.
So if you look at MyV, people don't mind paying 3 years old. They don't mind paying X price, right? I'm not updated with the market value, but the point is that it's always determined by market value, right? The market demand, right? So maybe the 408, people don't want to buy Peugeot 408 used for close to new, right? The market is telling you got to be there, right? But yeah, I think a lot of people have to get this in mind is that depreciation is not something that someone in the wall written that this is the price. It's always the market telling you, right?
That's right.
That's
right.
So your car models play a big role in it. My advice to my younger self is to buy a car that doesn't depreciate. I want to preserve my capital so I can invest so that I can grow my wealth, right? And
spend it later.
right?
So now we have two camps again, right?
Yeah.
When we talk about buy new car and used car, like you were mentioning just now, I guess I can safely say that you're from the used car camp.
Yes.
It doesn't matter whether got warranty or not, but you're from the used car camp instead of new car.
My first car
camp,
graduated,
right?
also I got used car as well.
Yep. Some people will say that your first car should be like, say, a MyV or something like that. Right, something that's the cheapest. Now, the point that I guess the spirit of it that people want to say is that get a first car that is the lowest of value just so that it can take you from A to B, it doesn't matter, so that you can save the money and then later when you become richer, only choose the car that you want.
Yep.
Right?
Or upgrade.
Or either upgrade, right? Then there's the other camp of people who will say this one thing. Why do I want to buy an Axia used right now, right? Because it's so low price. Maybe I should get something like a Honda Civic or City where I can last for another 10 years, right? Because at least I won't think about upgrading. So when you're presented with that question, what are your thoughts about these two?
Personally, again, I'll still try to preserve my capital as much as I can. Because I already know my mindset. It is an appliance. It gets me from point A to point B, right? So an appliance, either you lose money through depreciation, right? Or you don't, right? So one option is you buy something, you use it, and you lose the value. The other one, you buy, you use it, there's no loss of value, or the loss of value is very small. I had a really cool podcast. I had a conversation with Alvin Wong from Equities Tracker. And he explained to me that the power of actually putting money to invest as early as you can. Because every year that you have is not like one more year. It's not like it's like a formula, right? I don't know if you've ever seen this formula. It's like the amount of principal I have, how much percentage of return,
interest.
And the last one is the compounding. And the last one is not actually 1 year or 2 year or 3 year, that kind of factor. It's a power off. So every extra year you have extra compounding year. So I give you a scenario. You buy a Honda City hatchback, the highest spec one, RS, right, 120,000 ringgit, which is ridiculous price for City now, right? But it's still a cool model. I like the City. But then if you look down 7 years, you depreciate 60,000 ringgit or you depreciate 70,000 ringgit. Rather than paying the installments and you depreciate, what if you put that money aside over the 7 years? You might have a big chance to have a lot more than just 70,000. You might accumulate because it grows through interest. By the time you hit another 5-10 years, it'll be more than 70,000, right? I know I'm going getting wound up about this because I think it really pains me to see people buy a car and then they save up all their money, they work hard, right? They're hardworking, they're motivated, and then at the end of it, the money go where? Like it gone into something that disappears. Like it literally goes into something that disappears because of value, right? Whereas the other way around is that you can preserve it, right?
So basically, you would say that in your early stages in life, when you are not looking car as an enjoyment, you should actually be aggressive about being able to save up as much as possible rather than spending it on car.
Yep.
Now, so my personal thought was this, right? So I drive Activa. Many people famously know it because I did a video
that
about
reel
it.
they did.
Yeah. So you also watched the video, if I can recall,
that
right?
was
You
fun.
told me about it. My idea was very simple, right? If I were to really want to buy a car, which my wife asked me what car made me happy when I was choosing between like BYD car, or like whatever car. So I was thinking of myself, my budget is about 200K. Then you always ask yourself, why not just take out another 30K, 40K, So it's 230,000, that kind of thing. Until in the end, my wife asked me this very simple question, what makes you happy? And I thought to myself that actually what truly makes me happier is if you can drive a classic Porsche 911. Then I realized that you're talking about a very big number lah. Yeah. And anything else below that, it's more about the utility. Do I have the space to put certain things and so on and so forth?
Yeah.
So that is not too important. So ultimately, I went down to the path and say, you know what? See, it's just a pure utility. And by price-wise, just nice, my brother-in-law offered me his used Activa. So I just took it off his hand, cash.
Yeah.
Right? And today, I'm very happy in the car. I did some modifications, just soundproofed it, put the auto foam, and then tint it with a nice 3M tinting so that I realize that it makes a difference.
Absolutely, it does. Although you keep blasting your aircon, it gets like very frustrating.
And I'm super happy in the car, right? Because of that. So I guess that's the idea that I would go with. I am still sitting in this end, right? Where I'm still trying not to spend too much on things I enjoy, like car or something. Or maybe I would say that it's not my number one priority to enjoy at this point, right? But for yourself, you've already come to a point where you started, I don't know how was your early life. I know you did spend on cars as well in the early days. Then now you end up, living the dream, buying the car that you really want and so on, right? Maybe you can share with the audience, right? How was that feeling like versus when you have seen other people who were like, they maybe earn about 8,000 ringgit and they thought to themselves, since I'm going to upgrade my car, might as well I upgrade something nicer, and end up they pay through their nose. And after 5 years or 3 years later, they realize like, it's not that great anyway, it's just another car. Can you shed some light in terms of this experience you have and what you have seen?
Actually, my answer comes back to what I categorize car as 3 categories. Some people see cars as an appliance. And some people see car as a hobby, enjoyment, a way to enjoy something, a passion. And there's some people who see cars as an accumulation, like collection. I enjoy collecting certain cars. So what you just mentioned there was a great example. Some people will never graduate to number 2 or number 3. Some people, cars are always going to be appliance. And they live their life like that, right? They don't care what car they drive as long as they get to the point A to point B. Maybe they pay more for safety, they pay more for comfort, and then that's it, right? And some of them know that I'm going to depreciate 200K buying this car. It's okay, I can accept it, right? But they accept that it's an appliance, right? So you're a great example of someone who know that, you see, the 911 is something, an acquisition, right? It's not really much just a passion, right? It's a third category.
Yes.
Right? Which means that it has to be the money that you spend that it doesn't affect you, right? Only one day comes where I spend money, don't spend money on this, it doesn't impact me, then you're in category number 3, right? You're accumulating not to make money, because it's like, oh, look, I got friends who complete the whole 911 from the F series, the G series, 930, 964, they're like, wow, look at all my cars, like they got
like
this.
collect them.
Yeah, but their kind of wealth is like, if I don't spend the money, I don't know what to spend the money on. Then for them, they see cars in that category, right? And then there are people who see cars as appliance. And don't get me wrong, people who are in the acquisition category also have their appliance. Right? Because let's not forget, cars' number 1 function is to move people and move things around.
That's right.
I'm a car guy. And I'll tell people, if you don't like cars, if this is not your passion, it's not your hobby, you don't have a desire to acquire these things, go and find something that fulfills you. Because more than often, we talk to this in our podcast, right? Some people buy cars and they maintain the car just to keep an image.
Yeah.
Right? For what, right? You can spend 1,000 ringgit a month on, I don't know what you like. Maybe you're like a food freak, you like cooking, right? You go for cooking classes. right? You upgrade your kitchen, right? You buy this pan, you buy you buy this Japanese knife, which I'm a cook freak also, right? And you can slice super thin radishes and stuff, right? And then you just feel proud about it, right? Do that, because you know what's gonna happen? You're gonna be so much happier, and then you can just drive the same appliance every day, and get the job done. It's really interesting that people associate car with happiness, or car with some sort of achievement,
status, whatnot,
right? And then 1,000 ringgit you spend on something you like, and the 2,000 ringgit invest, right? Invest it, grow it. If you're below 30 years old, man, you got so much you can do with that money, right? There is a moment of like, oh, I buy a car, I feel good, and it's just that moment you buy the car, you feel good, right? It's nice to feel like you conquered this, like yeah, and then now it's like,
what's next?
What's next? Do I get a better car? And then if I don't love my car, then when the car gives you a problem and the bills rack up, you will feel like it's so annoying. But if you love your car, right, the bills, okay, whatever, it's called, you call joy tax. I think to answer your question, yes, there's a feeling of like, once you get past and you acquired the car, there's a nice feeling. But after that, it doesn't last. I promise you, it doesn't last long. Unless you are category number 2 and number 3.
Right.
Means for you, the car is a means of your expression, the means of your joy, right? So for some people, for example, they will acquire a car that they know they're going to enjoy driving. It's not just status. For them, they buy the car because they're enthusiasts, right? They're either a Sepang enthusiast. I met an IQI agent, right? He's like a track. He loves going Sepang. So he bought a used 3 Series. He modified the hell out of it, and he's whacking. His track time is faster than my Porsche, right?
Wow.
He enjoys it, right? He enjoys the heck out of it. So for him, he's definitely not category number 1. He's not appliance. He has another appliance, right? So I think people misunderstand, like, cars equate to fulfillment only for certain people. If you're number 2 or you're number 3, maybe you have that.
Because there are people that I know that really, they drive a sport car, right? When you ask them anything, right? Literally, they drive a Honda City versus a sport car. For them, it's no different.
I have more, I think there's more dignity to be a person who knows in your heart what's important for you, and you choose it not caring about what people think. And the funny thing is the other way around. The way you walk and talk is so that you have this like you're so proud of yourself. It becomes like almost like an attractive energy. You feel comfortable in your skin, right? I know people who make a lot of money, right, and do very well for them financially, right? And they don't have a nice fancy car, right? But they're freaks about watch, right? And there they are wearing Uniqlo, whatever. Patek, right? And they're not even flexing it. For them, it's just they enjoy studying the movements, and they're telling me, Thomas, got this movement. I got friends who are crazy about Casio, right? All the Casio, all the G-Shock nonsense, I have no clue. But the way they talk about it, it's like the eyes, like, whoosh, right?
Yeah.
And then they just drive, whatever. Could be a used Camry, could be an old Volvo, or whatever, right? But that person has more like energy, and he has a reason to network because you network with other watch lovers, right?
Yes.
Like car enthusiasts will connect with other car enthusiasts.
That's right.
It's very simple when we all know one. If you are a real car enthusiast, every other weekend you are either driving here, driving there, go morning drives, right? But if you're not, if you use car as a way just to like, show off, right? You won't wake up to drive the car.
That's right.
You won't wake up early morning, just to go and drive that car, right? Spend that petrol, because you want to meet your friends who enjoy cars as well, right? Then you network, right? And now I want to flip to another side. There are some people who are fresh graduate and they want to buy cars. And you're really enthusiast. Find a car that is an enthusiast category. Don't go and buy a Myvi and all that, because you buy a car that you can meet people that can expand your life. Because and there are certain cars like this, okay? For example, if I get a Suzuki Swift, I love the Swift Sport. Enthusiast cars.
Yeah.
No one would buy a Swift Sport because the price is 30K used or 40K used or 50K used. People would rather buy a Myvi.
That's right.
The only reason you buy that car is because you love that car. And you can be a guy who drives a BMW and still have a Swift Sport for your track day. Right? You can buy a Swift Sport because you like the Genting drive with weekend drives on the B roads. So you suddenly meet people of higher category just by entering a common area of your interest.
Wow.
You could buy a Z4. Of course, there are certain challenges like down payment a bit higher and this and that. If I'm that, maybe I suck it in. I say maybe the first 1 year of my life, I'm just going to hammer my way through LRT to get to work, right? Save up the money, buy myself a Swiss Sport. At least I'm happy, right? And no maintenance is going to be there. But at least when I drive it, I get to meet new people. Right? I get to meet some people, have fun, right?
Right.
Every weekend I got something to look for, right?
Right.
So now I got the appliance and the fun thing going, which because there's so much enthusiast, the price doesn't move much. Because when you want to sell, somebody want to buy. You want to buy, somebody want to sell.
That's right. That's right.
So demand secures the price at certain area. I think the worst kind of ways to buy car is, and I know I'm going to get people like saying things about this, is to buy car just to prove something. Car is just an appliance. Or car can be number 2, something, a window for you to have fun. Or number 3 is just a collection that you always obsess about. It's nothing else other than that, right? But it's, you say networking. It's through your enthusiasm you meet people. It's through your collection you meet people.
Right.
Yeah.
So I like the point that you mentioned earlier, right? If you happen to be a car enthusiast and you really enjoy certain models of car, maybe having that as your first choice to buy instead of a MyV could be helpful, because it can lead you to meet certain people that you never meet in your working life.
Yeah.
Right? Like I've heard things like, for example, even if you buy a Mini, right?
Yeah.
There are a lot of rich people who own a Mini collection.
That's what I love about Minis.
Right.
Minis is the kind of car that has, and Bobby put it so aptly, right? People view cars as a hierarchy. There is like Japanese, Toyota, BMW, right? They got this hierarchy until like Rolls Royce or what, Porsche or whatever, right? Mini is like, screw you guys, I'm Mini. You like me, you buy me. Yes. I know I'm cute.
Yes.
Yeah, you guys watching Mini? I know I'm cute, right? I know I'm a bit more expensive, but I know you like me, so you buy me. So you have rich people who have Ferraris, Rolls Royce, and then they just like Mini, or the wife likes Mini, right? Whatever. So you get to, these are kind of, Mini's a great choice, like you say, because you get to meet people from all, it doesn't tell you your financial background or your wealth background. Because even Mini back in the days, the Queen drove it, the Princess drove it, the Beatles drove it, the white collar drove it, the blue collars drove it. Everybody drove Minis. It is an anti-hierarchy car. So you make a good point. That will allow you to meet a lot of Mini enthusiasts to come from different walks of life.
If, let's say I'm a fresh grad earning, say, 2,000 ringgit a month only, right?
Yeah.
It's regardless of whether I like the car or not, right?
Yeah.
If no one's going to support me buy that, chances are I can't afford it. How much do we need to buy a used Mini? Then how much does it cost to maintain a used Mini?
Wow, this is a big question, because I own 2 Minis. I have the modern Mini and I have the
That's
classic
why.
Mini,
That's why I asked you Mini.
Yeah. So first of all, you got to know what kind of Mini you're talking about. If you're talking about the classic Mini, you can daily it, but it's not comfortable. You feel like you're being punched in the car everywhere, like right? To give you an idea, most car got springs, right?
Yeah.
The front of the car has a semi-rubber cone, and the car sits on the rubber, so it's like
Right. So it's not.
Nah. One day you should sit in my car or drive my car. Right? Go and drive it, and you feel the car is like So that car definitely doesn't belong anymore in the appliance. Although it can be driven every day if you wish to.
Just that in today's standard.
Today's standard is very not. And I think safety wise, because that car is just a sheet of metal, But also when the car goes bad, right? The spare parts coming in will be a bit slower, so you might have to wait longer before the car is workable again.
Right.
Same thing as the Swiss Sport. You might face a few days where your car cannot be taken out from the workshop, whereas modern cars, the parts are everywhere. Yeah. But for enthusiasts, it's like we accept this, right? We accept this is part of it, right? To answer any used car question, I'll answer with the 3 C's. As my friend called the Porsche lover always says, right? He says, condition, right? Like property is location, right?
Yes.
So car is condition. You buy a lemon, we call it a lemon, right? Means this car is like completely busted. I know one of the videographers I hired, he had a Nissan Z, right? Fair Lady 350Z, I think. He bought the car for really cheap, but the moment he bought the car, condemned, had to overhaul the engine, right? He bought it really cheap, right? Lemon, that's a lemon, right? They cost you more money. So even though it's cheap, no, it doesn't mean the car is always good, right? So we must always determine the condition of the car before you purchase it. No matter if it's new or old, what I always like to do is have a pre-purchase inspection, right? You're not an expert. You'll never be an expert because, you have guys in the workshop who see these cars upside down, everything, up, down, left, right? So you want to be able to send that used car to be checked so you know what you're dealing with.
Right. But let's say if it's a good condition Mini, what are we looking at on a maintenance base?
If you're talking about the classic Mini?
Classic Mini, yeah.
Well, good is also very big because classic cars have a lot of range of good and very good. And
like your one. Let's just talk about your one.
The people who have the very, very nice classic cars, they usually don't sell you because the amount of money they put in is too much that they sell you to make a loss. right? So very rarely, very rarely, I heard of people buy a classic car, mint condition, nothing to fix, or if
Right.
not, just change tires.
That's
Because the
right.
owners pour in so much money, whatever price they sell you doesn't make any sense, right? But most cars you have to do some fixing lah. So I think to be safe, right? Let's say a classic Mini nowadays, if you get a good condition one, you send to inspection, the guy tells you, okay, Peter, this car is okay, and you're offered a price of 30,000, for example, right? I think it would be safe to say to park aside another 20,000, just not to spend it. It's like in case there's something I need to fix.
Right. And that's every year or just like over the period?
Oh, the moment you acquire it,
Oh.
All right, and then that 1 year things might go bad, you might have to fix it, right? I think just putting aside 1K a month as a budget would be safe lah, right? To say those kind of cars, right? Because we don't know. There's so many variations. It could be engine problem, cooling problem, whatever. But you want to make sure that you have some at least 20K or 15K parked aside just in case you need it.
So we will say that when you're looking at a classic car, you should be looking at least 50% of the car value set aside.
Not really. It depends on the model.
Depend on the model.
Depend
as
on
well,
the model, yeah. So now I'm a bit familiar with Mini. I say okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
Now let's tackle the very practical question. Many people actually, when they talk about used car, right, their excuse is always this: I don't know how to identify whether a car is a good condition or bad. So buy new car, save all the trouble. Now there's a will, there's a way.
Yes.
For someone like you who has been always buying used car and your community as well, right? What are some ways that we can approach buying used car? How can we identify whether this car is good or bad?
First and foremost, we need to acknowledge that we are not mechanics and we're not workshop experts. So what we do is we outsource, right? Thankfully, outsourcing in this case isn't very expensive, right? Usually what we can do is we do a pre-purchase inspection, right? So before you buy the car, you can negotiate, or not say negotiate, you can request the person who sells you the car, can I please do a pre-purchase inspection, right? So, usually it ranges from anywhere between, the cheapest I've heard but nowadays price went up a bit, like 150 all the way to 350. Of course, depending on what kind of car you buy, you need certain expertise, so more expensive cars requires higher skill level to identify, right? So you want to send it to a specialist usually to check your car.
Right.
Yeah, so that's the best way to determine whether this car is problematic or not problematic,
I see.
ready for purchase or not. Yeah.
I see. So let's say in Malaysia, right, where do we go for this pre-purchase inspection?
I think there are a lot of different workshops have different expertise. Okay, maybe I give I speak of mine, and then I'll give a general way to deal with this, right? So myself, I always go to Prestige Car Care, because they specialize in Conti cars. They specialize with anything Conti, right? So they're familiar with car prices. They know what's the common problems with this car. Like for example, they look at 718. They all know that water pump is always an issue for that,
Right.
So they know what to look out for, right? Because they've seen enough volume, right? And that's their business anyway. So I always go to Prestige. If you're looking for, let's say, like we talked about earlier, Classic Mini, maybe you want to have someone who actually fixes Classic Mini to give you a pre-purchase inspection. So you want to always look for specialists. This is where I recommend people to look at. You go to Evo Club, Evo Club approved workshops, right? So there are certain workshops that have pre-purchase inspection services. They're all listed under Evo Malaysia, under Horizon. You can Google it, Evo Club.
We'll put the link below so you guys can go and check it out.
Yeah, so you can find whichever is closest for you, and then go and talk to the boss and everything.
Right.
Then send your car in, get a quote.
Right.
Then
So they are
will give
the
you a report.
generalists in that sense. They generally any car they roughly will know. Or is there a specific, like say under a list there you always say that if it's a
Generalists, yeah, those are generalists.
or generalist
Generalist cars,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So you probably have to find for yourself what, especially if you're an enthusiast, you find a specialist. But I think for most common man, normal car that goes around everything, I think most workshops will know what to see and what to look out for lah.
Especially if you're buying a normal Japanese car, say
Correct.
a used City or
Yeah.
like used Myvi or something like that, right?
Yeah. Pre-purchase inspection is I think is key lah. You're going to take care of this car, or this car is going to serve you for a few years, right? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years. No, I think it's worth 200 ringgit to 250 ringgit just to make sure that the car is all right? It's like due diligence, right? You're going to buy a property, for example, right? You ask a lot of questions about a property, right? Do the same thing for a car, right? This is my personal advice. If you're going to buy a car and then the seller doesn't want to let you do a pre-purchase inspection, just walk away.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, the person who has to deal with the car is you. right? You buy the car over, you tell the dealer, hey, I got this car problem. It's already your car, right? They're not
Correct.
liable to take care of your car. So do everything in your power to make sure you check the car before you buy it. Yeah, that's
right.
pre-purchase inspection. Yeah.
That's right. So do a pre-purchase inspection if you want to get a used car. That's actually a must. Now, next thing. A lot of people talk about Continental car versus Japanese car, right? Just like people say that BMW tend to break down more than Mercedes. I've not seen enough car to know that, but as far as I'm concerned, on the road, I don't just see BMW or Mercedes break down. I also see Japanese car break down. So
Yeah.
I do not know how true is it. Based on your experience, is it true that Continental car requires more maintenance while Japanese car is more simpler? What's your thought?
Okay, this is a very interesting question, and it deserves a lot of light into this. I'm going to speak maybe a bit about the mentality background, and then speak about the a bit of mechanical background. Right? From again,
Okay.
this is gathered from what I seen in the past. Right. First and foremost, all cars are going to wear and tear. It's going to wear and tear. Right. You got cars are quite complex. Think about it. There's combustion, there's cooling, there's aircon. Right. You know, we have so many things going on in the car. Rubber seals. Yeah. Right, dials, and then got music, electricity, right? It's a very complex, and then it goes up and down, you know, it goes through rain, you know, and then you have to hit the potholes, and then you got to do so many things. The car is quite a complex nature. Something's about to wear and tear, right? So let's look at Japanese versus Continental in the sense of the first logical thing, right? Most Japanese parts are usually cheaper because of the supply, right? Where it's manufactured, where it's supplied, right? Because, you know, for example, you're buying a certain Continental part. There's a big chance that you have to import it from Europe. The labor, everything is European, right? So by that logic, yes, parts are more expensive generally. It's not inaccurate to say this, right? That in my experience, okay, this is my experience. There's some models are a bit different. This is a blanket statement, and I agree with this. But now let's go into the mentality of things. I notice a lot of people when they buy a Continental car, they have an expectation that it's supposed to not have noise and this and that. So typically when someone goes from Japanese to Continental, there's this very high expectation on the car. Okay? Because I spend so much money, right? The more money you spend, the higher the expectation, right?
Yeah.
Right? If you take your wife to mama, right? One noodle hanging out there, you know, whatever, right? You know, but if you go to, I don't know, you know, go to a nice restaurant and then
you go to a fine dine, you expect the cucumber to be straight, right?
Right. How cucumber cut so weird one? You expect the aircon to be nice, the ambient to be nice. So yes, there is that mentality, right? So when you buy a Conti, especially for Malaysians, it's a big jump, right? It's a big jump, right? 200K, 250K. So when the little noise happens, people get worried and then they change it, right? They spend money, they change it. Whereas sometimes some things are not as bad as it is. It's just, you know, it's just being used. There's a bit of wear and so on and so forth. So sometimes people spend more money on Conti cars because they just cannot tahan, right? But is it unreliable? I think the more important question is that will it leave you stranded? Is it unreliable? Modern Continental cars have improved so much. You can see Continental cars being stranded, and you also see Japanese cars being stranded, right? So in terms of like, will it break down and kaput, you know? I really think it depends on, you know, how you take care of your car, you know. But generally, in what we've seen over the last decade, I think Continental cars has really like buck up in terms of its reliability. Of course, there are, like any manufacturer, there's always certain cars that I didn't manufacture well. That's why there's always warranty, right? Yeah. Even Japanese cars, we've seen people who buy new Japanese cars have problems as well.
Yeah.
But that's why there's a warranty, right?
Yeah. I remember last time there was a friend who actually told me this one thing. He said that when people buy, say, a BMW or a Merc, right? And someone will always tell them this thing, you buy a Camry lah, right? You buy a Camry, it's better because it's more lower cost of maintenance, you know? Then he said this one thing, right? Most of the people will tell you that, right? They've never driven a Continental before themselves.
That's true.
So that's what they think. But when you really drive one before, most of the time, it will be more normality. It's just like there are also people who drive Japanese car, like say Mazda, right? And then they'll say that, Mazda is a bad Japanese car. I'll never drive Mazda again, right? Also got one, just like there are people who drive a Merc and say Merc is not good. I always drive BM or BM say otherwise, right? So the point that he wanted to make there is much more about expectation, and it's true, right? Because when any little breakdowns of a Continental car tend to happen, especially the higher the brand is, the cost is also higher.
That's true.
Right?
Yep.
And I was thinking of myself, right? Lexus is a Japanese luxury brand.
Yep.
Right? But I think when I change my brakes, it's about the same price as a BM lah. It's not going to be too far away lah, right?
Well, they share a lot of parts with Toyota, right? Lexus is the outlier, right? And why Lexus is so good is because they share parts with Toyota, right?
Yeah.
And parts are abundant, right? See,
That's
again,
right,
like
that's right.
if it's a lot of parts, then parts are cheaper.
So is the price like vastly different then?
From my,
I remember, like, BMW
I'm second hand, I never own a Lexus, okay? But from my understanding, and the people who own certain Lexuses, it's not far apart. Right?
It's not far.
If they take to their workshop to service, not the service center,
Right.
means maybe outside the warranty period, everything. Yeah, right. Yeah, but because service centers, sometimes you pay more than just the actual things. You also pay for
That's
the
right.
environment, where you sit down, everything. I think the more important question we have to draw to is not just the price. It's like, I think people concerned whether the car will leave them stranded and will not function at all, right? In my opinion, okay, modern Continental cars has improved so much. They don't have like the old reputation of the car being stranded, or
Yes.
engine kaput, or the gearbox kaput. There are certain models that are like that, but
Right,
in general,
right.
like
So would you still say that ultimately, if that case, does a Japanese luxurious is still cheaper than Continental?
I would say yes. It has a potential to be cheaper. Again, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't own a Lexus.
Yeah, I also don't know
Or
Lexus.
But
Yeah.
but yes, it should be cheaper.
Yeah, and the price that I know is actually mainly from service center lah, because I go to the real flagship center.
Yes.
And you ask for that, that service maintenance chart.
Yeah.
I don't see the price too different from a BM lah. But I don't know about used workshop.
BMW parts are not that expensive also. Like BMW, Mercedes, even like Volkswagens and stuff. I mean, it's like, again, if you go service center, remember, you're not buying just the parts.
Right,
You're
right.
buying the whole service as well.
Right.
So they have to. They have
So
to
it
charge,
comes down to, again, whether do you know how to find the parts, right?
or you know how to find a workshop that you don't care about the service center experience. So usually, most people, I always have an idea that once the warranty period is over, because warranty says you must service in my place, I give you warranty, right? Once warranty finish, I mean, for me, to save money, and also sometimes I get better, I'm more comfortable with certain workshops, I let my workshop do the servicing. I know I'm paying majority for the parts and their workmanship, not paying for the whole dealership experience, everything, right? Because, I mean, logic lah, takkan they set up the whole, lounge, give you coffee, give you nasi lemak, everything, hire a staff to talk to you, or they have to earn something, right? So when you go to a service center, right, like Lexus, for example, I'm sure it makes common sense for them to mark up a bit more for all their parts, everything, to make sure you have a good experience.
Yeah, sure lah, such a good coffee machine there.
Yeah, but
Waiting for
takkan
you, go and
yeah, it's not a bad thing. Takkan you pay like 400,000 for a luxury car, and then you don't have all these
You go
things.
service center and
Yeah.
then it's like no aircon, no nothing. Yeah.
Correct. You cannot buy a 400,000 ringgit car and then you say, hey guys, I don't want all of this, right? You say that, but you want the experience. You want them to take care of you.
Yeah,
you
that's
want to
true,
feel
that's true.
comfortable. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
true.
Generally, Japanese parts are cheaper than Continental parts. Again, I'm not this.
Simply because of widely available, is it?
Yes, by logic is by.
Put it this way, right? If let's say there's a new Japanese brand that doesn't have too many common parts yet, maybe something like a BMW model that is more commonly available will have more parts, right? So can we say that?
Yes, that's true. Because when you bring in bulk, it's cheaper. I think certain stockholders don't mind selling it for less margin because they know that it's fast moving, right? If you know that your part is coming out within the next few days or few weeks or few months, and why not margin low, never mind, sell volume, right? But if you know that this part is like I buy already, wow, after 3 months only someone want to buy my part, of course, or maybe after 1 year only someone buy my part, right? Of course you want to take a bit more margin, right?
Right.
Because your cash was stuck inside this product, you want
Right.
to earn more money, right?
Right.
Ah,
This reminds me of the early days of X70 when it was first launched.
yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember
There was a big
like
demand for parts.
because it was new model, just taken over by Geely, so there weren't a lot of parts around. So a lot of people's complaint were when the car got problem, it was stranded for quite long.
Yes.
And then it was very expensive, and stuff like that. And then over the years, now as there are more and more X70s, then the price drop, it's much
Correct,
faster to get parts,
correct.
right? So in that case, the point is that sometimes it's not just about Continental or not, but rather the availability of the spare part and the volume of the spare part that's coming in to allow the
Yes.
stockists to kind of like lower the
Yes.
price for it, right?
Yes. And like BMW for say, let's say a 3 Series and 5 Series, you may think that different price points are servicing certain parts of the engine. They're both the same engine, same gearbox, same engine, right? So now they have not just one model a lot of people buy. They have 2 models a lot of people buy, right? So guess what? A lot of parts are around. So you generally get it more accessible. Means today this part spoil, they make a phone call. One guy comes with a motorbike, give you the part, and then the workshop can fix it. Maybe the workshop have the part inside there if they're specialists. They can get the car running in a few hours' time. Right. So that would generally bring the cost down, right? So yeah, you put a good point. It's economics actually. It's just economics.
So instead of looking at brands of the car, I think what you need to consider is a more practical level is how many cars are there on the street?
Yeah, I'll give you another great example,
brand,
right? I used to own an Alfa Romeo, right? 2 of them, right? But these Alfa Romeos, they are classic cars, and no one carries their stocks and their parts, right? So number one, like you want to buy a part, it's expensive, right? And you'll be surprised, right? Even though it's like a 20, 30-year-old car, but this bloody fuel pump costs you so much money, right? Because no one has it, or brake pump. Like my brake pump failed, right? And my clutch pump failed, right? It's so funny. When you clutch your car down, you have to put your you have to put your foot behind the clutch to pull it up, right? That's so bad, right? But to get someone, no one's going to sell you a clutch pump. No one has it.
Right.
Then becomes a willing buyer, willing seller. Lor. Someone say, I saw you 5,000 ringgit. Like, okay lah, buy lah. Right?
That's why Fiat is a very common car in Europe. But when it comes to here, it's so expensive to own it, right?
Yeah, I got a Fiat 500. I changed 2 absorbers and 2 absorber mounting. It cost me 5,000 ringgit. But over there, it's everywhere. It's only 150 euros for 1 shock absorber, right? So they had to, my car was stranded for 2 weeks, right? Actually, it's not a big problem. I hear the cook sound like, not nice lah, me and my fiance drive the car. So again, change law, but expectation is there. If I buy this Fiat, I know that parts are not available. Am I ready for this? Am I okay with the repair bills? So you have to use this logic, right? You can't just say that it's good or bad or expensive or poor. It's like you got to see, right? If it's so little, like X70, it's bound to happen. It's logical, right? No one has the parts. Part supply chain was very poor, very little cars around, right? Takkan you expect Proton to import so many parts in, not knowing how the sales are doing, right? They always try to stock.
You don't even know which are the parts that
Correct.
Frequently go wrong first, right?
Yeah, and now they have a steady chain of people buying these cars. We know more or less how many parts to bring in, right? So it is a very important point. It's just basic economics. And if you want to buy a used car, I guess whether it's Conti or that, I guess set your expectations. I could say it, for example, like I know I have to put 10, 15K aside for Mini because I've serviced this car a few times. I've seen what's going wrong. I talked to the Mini community. I think, okay, I know I need to have this money based on my research.
All right.
Do the research, right?
Right. What are the top 3 cars that you'll recommend a fresh grad to get?
Okay.
Let's go for appliance lah. So maybe let's put another boundary there. A car that's say about 50,000 range, meat of 100.
I want to cheat this question a bit by putting one thing that Bobby said before, right? If my family is well-to-do enough that my family can give me 1 car to drive, I'll take it. Again, preserve capital. Preserve as much as you can. This is when you need your money to you have to start to build that discipline to save money to invest long term. And if I'm an enthusiast, I jump straight to enthusiast. I don't even want to go in between. I drive I drive my dad's car all around and then I buy an enthusiast car, right? Then I meet new people. Okay. Anyways, put that aside. Okay, I'm not gonna go 50,000. I won't go even lower than that.
Okay.
A Kia Picanto. Kia Picanto. They're small. They're cute. They ride really well. They look like a B segment mini, like small little car. But when you take it on the highway, it's nice and hefty. It's not hefty, but it feels solid. Like the mechanical integrity is nice. Parts can be a bit expensive because it's Korean. It's not that abundant. But from my understanding, it's not a headache car, right? So I like a Kia Picanto, and I think they sit below 20,000. If you can cash buy, good. If not, take loan. I mean, your installment is what? I don't know, 500 ringgit or less, or 300 ringgit a month, right? Versus trying to buy 50K and then try to gong like 600 or 700, double of that, right? Secondly, maybe I look for a Swift, not a Swift Sport, just a normal Swift.
Normal Swift.
Yeah, it'll probably land around 15K, But again, these are cash buys. Maybe they're no longer available for loan. Some banks do offer cars that are up to 15 years old, But, I'm of the opinion that, if you can just buy without losing money, just get these cars. Maybe you want another appliance that's slightly larger, you have to fetch some people around, fetch some things around. Subaru XVs tend to depreciate quite a lot, I looked at it and I say, wow, this car used to be 120,000 and 2015 model or 16 model or even 14 model, that you can go anywhere between 20,000. I've seen in the market up to 40,000, right? And they're used, and they really depreciated so much. I mean, where is it going to go, right? It's really that low, right?
It's
of
a
course,
nice car to drive, right?
yeah, it drives pretty well. Sorted, it feels solid on the highway, right? I'll take that car. I know it will cost me a bit more to maintain the car. I'll take that across a maybe any time, right? Because you go on the highway, it feels planted, right? And it's slightly taller, it's like slightly bigger, and you got more space, Of course, the car is not luxury, but the driving feels nice, feels solid, feels planted, and feels more safer as well. So I will go for these three. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. What about someone who say after a while decided to upgrade? Again, it's a utility question here. We are talking about, say, car about within the 200,000 range. Let's say that the person just finds that, okay, I want something a little bit more comfortable right now already. Yeah. So what would you suggest then? Let's just go for MPV, SUV, and sedan lah. Each one.
Yeah, see, the answer always comes back to what's the function, right? It always comes back to why, right?
Got family, want to fetch kids, everything all.
Okay, MPV is good for fetching your children and then fetch your parents, right?
Yes.
The whole family in the car,
That's
right? That's what we call MPV, okay? You can use Kia Carnivals. I absolutely love Kia Carnivals. I think they are so underrated. First of all, they're running diesel engine 2.2. I know diesel price went up, but still, diesel is really efficient. And the other thing that the benefit of diesel is that it's a lot of torque, down low. So MPV is heavy. You put people in even heavier. You need the torque to move the car. And very often, a lot of petrol engine, non-turbocharged, is like, you want to move the car, it's like, oh my gosh, the car you want to move, right? Yeah. I think we're seeing Kia Carnivals coming below the 200K range. The newer ones are fabulous. They ride so good.
Nice.
Super nice. It's like you sit in there, you think, this is a 400K car, right? And because of our tax and whatever, you can get it for much lower. Yeah, if I'm a family, I'm going to luck my parents around, luck my children around, my mate, and then myself. I think Kia Carnival is great. It might suffer more depreciation, but again, I can tank that depreciation. Maybe I'm a different phase of my life, right? Sure, I think Kia Carnival is fantastic. SUV, all right. I know my friends in Horizon, the Evo Club, are going to laugh at me, right? You all know what answer I'm going to say already. Hyundai Santa Fe or Kia Sorento.
Okay,
Right?
okay.
Again, diesel engine. These engines are so reliable. Inocom Santa Fe, which is the local company manufactured. Kia Sorento, we got the new Santa Fe. We use the same engine, 2.2 CRDI engine.
Okay.
Efficient, and the new ones are less and less quiet. It's a good workhorse, efficient, and the Santa Fe is big enough. The Sorrentos and Santa Fe have the last row seat if you want to use to, depending on the models. And they sit nicely at, let's say today is 2024. If my memory serves me right, a 2017 Sorrento should sit around 60 to 80K. Even cheaper than 200K, right?
Wow.
All right, I would save all that money and fulfill my SUV needs. I can luck my family around.
And you're talking about a huge SUV, not a small SUV, right?
Yeah. Why spend up to 200K when I can spend 80K to get my job done? Right? Again, appliance mindset, right?
Then the price won't go down that much.
Maybe you go down to 30K one day, right? My depreciation is 50,000. Rather than buying a 200K and depreciate to 50,000, it's like, ouch. Or 200K depreciate to 100, ouch. Right? I'll save the balance of the 140,000 and I invest. Or if you're enthusiast, take the 140,000 and buy a Mazda Miata, right? Buy a sports car, right? Right? So I get my appliance done, I get my sports car done, right? So yeah, or if you want to go even cheaper, you can go for the 2014-15 Santa Fe as well. Just make sure you get the diesel. Kia, Hyundai, don't hate me for this, but I'm going to say it. The petrol engine is not suitable for that car because it feels like the car is too heavy and it needs a bit more torque to get the car going. The 2.4 petrol is not great for that.
Final one, the sedan.
Okay lah, if I want something nicer, something I can fetch my family around, and I want to get a little bit more luxurious, safety. The 5 Series is in a beautiful price now, the used ones.
You're talking about the F10, right?
No, I'm talking about the G30.
The G?
Yeah.
The G at less than 200 now?
I believe so. It's below 200 right now. We can take a search. But the F10 is way cheaper than that. F10 is a lot cheaper.
Yeah. It's about
but if you say 200K budget, I said, okay lah. I like the G a lot more. I feel the F10 is a bit dated. I think the G is nice. I think it's worth owning the G.
Yeah.
The ride is so much more comfortable.
There was a huge difference.
Yeah, big difference, right?
Huge difference.
Yeah. And I love the BMW's 5 Series more than the E-Class because the rear seats are for me much better, feels more spacious. The safety tech is good, So yeah, I would definitely look for a 5.3i if I don't like 5.30i. I would not look for a hybrid, I'll look for just pure petrol, less complicated. They're not difficult engine. The B48 engine is known to be pretty reliable. The gearbox, 8-speed ZF gearbox, very reliable. Of course, you get your little things here and there. Yeah, the only reason I don't like the F series is that the interior at this point is a bit dated. Sometimes the plastic melt a little bit and this and that. A lot of funny noises coming from the cabin. But I think I would definitely go for the 5 series, 530i. If I want to save more money, okay, go down. There's Accords, used Accords, used Camrys. Yeah, I think I got a list of suggestions, but I'll just stop at the 5 series.
All right, thank you very much, Thomas,
welcome,
for this
man.
session.
Yeah.
I hope you guys learn more about cars. And for those of you who are thinking about getting yourself a used car, remember to do this one thing. PPI, right?
PPI, pre-purchase
PPI,
inspection.
yeah. And to understand more about PPI and to get a list of the panels, you can check out the link below where we're going to put the Evo's list of PPI there, right?
Yeah.
So I totally agree with what Thomas said. Ultimately, at the end of the day, if you're the kind of person who just want utility, right? Go for the cheapest car possible. Yes, there's other consideration, and cheap is a subjective interpretation for everyone. And for myself personally, it's all about, at the end of the day, are you gonna be happy purchasing a vehicle? Like for me at this point, an Activa makes me happy. But if you ask me, would I love to have a Miata as a weekend car? Yeah, why not, man?
Go for it.
But I've been just looking at the ads to poison myself. I haven't buy it.
I give you incentive. Miata doesn't depreciate much. It is the price it is right now. Look, even the old Miatas are landing around 100K.
About the same price.
Yes.
Also about the same price. 120.
Yes.
100. The
So
old one also 100.
you buy a used one, 110. And then after 10 years, you're like, oh man, I still love the car, and you sell it for 110, right? Whatever you pay in between is just called joy tax, right?
That's right. So I gotta go back and calculate and see whether do I want to pay the joy tax lah.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, for those of you who are wondering, right, what does Thomas do? Why he can own so many cars and what's all about this that he's talking about, right? We're gonna have another episode there that you should check out. It's gonna be about Thomas' journey. So don't miss out on that as well. Nonetheless, if you have any opinion about car and you want to share with us what you think about this episode, let us know in the comments below.